Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving into the upcoming full moon in Scorpio that's happening on May 12th.
Right.
And our goal really is to unpack the key insights from, astrological perspectives, help you understand what it might mean.
Exactly. And Scorpio full moons, generally speaking, they tend to turn our focus inward, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Making us look at the deeper stuff going on in our lives, things that maybe seemed important superficially can sort of fade away.
Because we're looking for something more meaningful.
We naturally seek that deeper meaning, yeah. Surface stuff just doesn't cut it.
Okay, but this one feels a bit different, right? Because Uranus is involved.
That's the key thing this time. Uranus is very active, and that really amps things up. Think of it like an electric current running through everything.
So unexpected developments, maybe even some disruption.
Definitely potential for disruption. Unexpected shifts, things getting stirred up quite intensely.
Okay, so let's explore that. What it could mean for us personally, but also maybe what we might see happening out in the world.
Sounds good. Where should we start? The Scorpio energy itself.
Yeah, let's unpack Scorpio first. What are its core themes?
Well, Scorpio at its heart is really about power.
Power dynamics.
Exactly. How it's used, how it's gained, sometimes how it's lost. It's also deeply connected to secrets, things hidden beneath the surface.
Okay.
And those moments of crisis, which aren't always bad, they often lead to real transformation.
Right, the transformative aspect of Scorpio.
Huge part of it. Then you got passion, obviously. Intense feelings, even jealousy can come under that umbrella.
And more tangible things too, like finances.
Oh, definitely. Taxes, debt, banking, shared resources, inheritances. Scorpio governs those areas.
Yeah.
Sexuality, of course, and our subconscious mind.
So with the full moon highlighting all this, these themes are going to feel more prominent.
Much more noticeable in your life, yeah. So maybe a key takeaway here is to, actively look at any power imbalances you're experiencing.
In relationships, at work.
Anywhere, really.
Yeah.
Then be ready for things that were hidden to maybe come out into the open. It might require some honest conversations.
Sounds like it could be quite intense personally. How might that feel day to day?
Well, one likely effect is your intuition getting stronger. Like noticeably stronger.
Trusting your gut more.
You might find yourself just knowing things, trusting those gut feelings much more readily, and your dreams could become really vivid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, quite memorable. But this heightened sensitivity, it can also mean buried emotions, old fears, anxieties. They might start bubbling up.
So maybe a bit of inner unease for some people.
It could translate into that, yeah. A kind of restlessness or unease beneath the surface.
Scorpio definitely has that reputation for digging deep, doesn't it?
It does. It's not about skimming the surface.
What other sort of tendencies might pop up?
Well, Scorpio often has this all or nothing kind of vibe.
Right. No half measures.
Exactly. So during this time, you might feel a real need for clarity. Like ambiguity becomes almost intolerable.
Interesting. So that could actually be useful.
It could be a really powerful push, actually, to make those firm decisions you maybe have been putting off, to finally resolve things that feel uncertain.
Okay, so time for getting clear, making choices.
Precisely. We might also feel a surge in libido, more passion generally. Desires, fantasies, they could feel much stronger, more amplified. But, and this is important, you need to be mindful of balance.
Because that intensity could cause problems if it's not channeled well.
It could definitely lead to its own set of challenges or crises if it kind of runs away with itself.
Right, noted. What about our sort of deeper psychological needs?
You might feel a stronger pull towards like genuine psychological fulfillment, less about what things look like on the outside.
And more about inner satisfaction?
Exactly. A deep sense of inner contentment. And this can also show up as a really strong urge to be informed, to feel like you're in control of what's happening around you.
Okay, I see that link to the Scorpio need for understanding, maybe control too.
Absolutely. And tied to that is often this tendency towards secrecy, or at least being strategic.
Keeping your cards close to your chest.
You might find yourself doing that more, being more guarded about your plans, and maybe finding it harder to figure out what other people are really thinking or planning.
Tricky.
It could be a time where subtle moves and strategies are more common. But here's where it gets really interesting, because we have to layer Uranus onto all of this.
Yes. Uranus, the planet of surprises, shakeups. How does it play with this Scorpio moon?
Okay, so Uranus is directly opposite the moon. In astrology, we call that an opposition, and it creates this powerful tension, a dynamic pull.
Like a tug of war.
Kind of, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it often manifests as sudden, really unexpected events, things you just didn't see coming.
Like what specifically?
Could be anything, really. Breakups that seem to come out of nowhere, scandals erupting, or just a general feeling of needing to break free from constraints. Rebellion against rules or situations that feel limiting.
Wow. So maybe brace ourselves for some potential earthquakes in our lives, metaphorically speaking.
There's definitely that potential, yes. Significant shakeups are possible. Another thing is our tolerance levels might just plummet.
You mean
Things we'd normally put up with, annoyances, difficult situations, difficult relationships, suddenly might feel completely unbearable.
leading to impulsive actions?
Good.
Mm.
You might see more emotional outbursts or people making really big life changes quite suddenly. Ending relationships, quitting jobs.
Mm-hmm.
If that pressure just builds too much.
Gosh, that sounds like a time to be really mindful of reactions, not just fly off the handle.
Indeed. Self-awareness is key.
Yeah.
And there's also, unfortunately, maybe a slightly increased risk of accidents or just erratic behavior generally.
Why accident?
Just because the heightened emotions, that tension from the opposition, it can create imbalance. People might act suddenly, maybe without thinking things through properly.
Okay. And what about mentally? How does Uranus affect our thinking?
Well, there can be a tendency towards obsessive thinking, getting stuck on certain issues.
Like looping thoughts.
Exactly. Ruminating, overthinking, becoming really fixated on one particular problem or idea.
That sounds draining.
It can be. And if you find that happening, if those thought patterns feel overwhelming, this could actually be a really good time to seek some support. Maybe talk to a therapist or even just double down on things like meditation or journaling.
That's really practical advice. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Scorpio and money. Big connection there, Al.
Huge connection, especially other people's money or shared resources.
Like credit, debt.
Credit, debt, taxes, banking systems, accounting, inheritance, joint investments. All that falls under Scorpio's domain.
And Uranus is currently in Taurus, which is also about money and resources, but more personal ones.
Exactly. Taurus rules our personal values, possessions, income, stability.
So having Uranus, the planet of surprises, in Taurus opposing the Scorpio moon. Well, that points pretty directly to potential financial shakeups.
Surprises involving loans, maybe.
Or
Or inheritances, definitely possible. Unexpected news about loans, changes in debt balances, sudden developments with inheritances or joint financial ventures.
So maybe not the best time for risky investments.
Caution is definitely the watchword financially right now. I'd advise avoiding high-risk ventures if you can. You might also face unexpected expenses popping up.
Ugh.
Yeah, there could just be a general feeling of financial uncertainty. And Uranus and Taurus can be quite good at revealing where our foundations aren't as solid as we thought they were.
So seemingly stable financial situations might show cracks.
They might. It's that tension again, isn't it? Scorpio wants control, especially financial control, and Uranus brings the unexpected. Seeing how that plays out in your finances will be fascinating.
It definitely sounds like a time to be vigilant with money. Okay, let's zoom out. What about bigger picture stuff? Global trends, societal shifts.
Given Scorpio's link to secrets and power and Uranus's tendency to expose things, we could potentially see an increase in public awareness around difficult topics like sexual offenses or scandals.
Things coming to light.
Exactly. Power imbalances, secrets, things related to sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
These themes could become much more visible in the news and public conversations.
That fits with the Scorpio energy. What else?
Maybe more focus on clandestine activities,
Mm-hmm.
Organizations working in the shadows. Could be anything from organized crime, maybe secret societies,
Yeah.
even things like terrorism or major theft might get more attention or see developments.
So hidden things being revealed on the larger scale.
The likelihood seems quite high, yes.
Mm.
Documents, records, secrets that have been kept under wraps. They could suddenly come out, leading to potentially shocking disclosures.
Anything about, like, the physical world? I remember talk about earthquakes with certain alignments.
Right, well, a previous Taurus full moon alignment had stronger earthquake links. Scorpio is connected to things underground, the depths.
Mm.
So while I wouldn't necessarily predict major earthquakes like before, we might see news related to things like oil wells, maybe uranium, perhaps developments concerning nuclear facilities, things hidden beneath the earth, essentially potentially brought into focus by Uranus's disruptive energy.
Got it. So less about major quakes, more about underground resources or facilities potentially being in the news.
That feels more likely, yes. And economically, as we touched on with personal finance, expect surprises.
Globally, too.
Yes. The Scorpio-Taurus axis is fundamental to finance and economics. Uranus involved means unexpected shifts. Economies or sectors that look strong could suddenly wobble, or struggling ones might get an unexpected boost. Volatility is possible.
And socially. Protests, perhaps?
Could be. Uranus often fuels a desire for change, for rebellion against the status quo.
Hmm.
So yeah, potentially more social unrest or protests. Also, keep an eye on transportation.
Like travel disruptions.
Particularly air travel, that seems to be a Uranian thing sometimes. And maybe even issues with utilities, like electricity grids. We've seen examples of Uranus causing sudden outages before.
Wow.
It highlights how these energies can manifest in very concrete ways. These seemingly separate events might all be part of this bigger astrological picture.
It's a lot to think about. Now, I know you looked at a specific chart for Turkey related to a similar past full moon. What did that tell us for this time?
Yes, looking back at a parallel full moon in 1956, the chart for Ankara had Scorpio rising.
And the rising sign sets the tone, right?
It really does. It shows the immediate focus or atmosphere for that location at that moment. Scorpio rising, with the moon close by, strongly point towards crisis management being front and center, a potential crisis affecting the public directly.
Okay, a focus on crisis in Turkey. Anything else?
Well, the full moon falls in the 7th house of that particular chart analysis. That house rules partnerships, open enemies, and crucially, international relations and diplomacy.
So, surprises on the world stage for Turkey.
It strongly suggests potential for surprising developments in their relationships with other countries. Yes, diplomatic shifts.
Interesting. And financially for Turkey specifically.
Given the overall themes and Uranus's position, the likelihood of the government making unexpected financial or economic decisions seems quite high. Sudden policy changes could happen.
Any other key things in that chart analysis?
There's a conjunction with Jupiter, which is significant. Jupiter relates to law, justice, belief systems, higher education, and trade. So developments in those areas too.
Okay.
And the full moon is in the 5th house in this context. That brings focus to youth, children, diplomats again, linking back to that 7th house, but also things like speculation, risky investments, artists, performers, the entertainment world.
So a lot of different sectors potentially seeing action.
A real mix.
Yeah.
There was even a hint of potentially positive developments for young people, maybe related to freedom or some kind of release.
That's hopeful.
And the sun's position in the 6th house points to potential surprises or new developments within the healthcare sector as well.
So Turkey could really feel this across multiple areas of society.
It looks that way. There's also a link to the 11th house, often tied to the national treasury and government income, suggesting possible new policies may be aimed at boosting national resources.
It really raises the question of how all these different threads will weave together in the coming weeks, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Okay, so to kind of wrap up this deep dive, this Scorpio full moon supercharged by Uranus, it sounds like a really potent time.
Definitely potent.
We're talking deep emotional exploration, the real possibility of sudden changes, maybe some financial wobbles, and significant shifts both personally and, out in the world.
That sums it up well. Transformation is a key word, but it might come via unexpected routes.
And for you listening, the takeaway seems to be heightened intuition.
Very much so. Trust your gut feelings. Pay attention to those nudges, those underlying emotions or motivations that might be surfacing right now. They're probably telling you something important.
Okay, so as we head towards May 12th, maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Consider how that tension we talked about between the Scorpionic desire for control and predictability and the Uranian energy of surprise and inevitability. How might that dynamic play out in your life over the next few weeks?
That's a great question to ponder.
Keep watching, keep reflecting on any truths that emerge or shifts that happen. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Thank you.